Well, we're back with the brand new episode of the Film Breakdowns. So basically, we're going to be discussing the second offensive line that we selected in the draft after Will Campbell, which is Marcus Bryant out of Mizzo. And we're going to be doing something a little different compared to like all the film breakdowns. So make sure to stay tuned for that coming up right here, right now on NE Patriots Talk. Let's go. Good evening, guys, and welcome back to another edition here on the NE Patriots Talk channel. Hope you guys are having an awesome day. Hopefully you guys had an awesome 4th of July, considering that yesterday was the 4th of July. So basically, originally, I was planning to do a live stream on that day, but unfortunately, so many people wanted to spend time with family and friends. So that's why I push it to today. And considering that there would be questions if I would have work on that day, but that doesn't matter. We're here to talk some Marcus Bryant. We're here to break down some film on his strengths and weaknesses with my good buddy, Austin Lesage. Austin, how are you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm doing great. First and foremost, happy 4th to everyone. I know it's a day late, but hope you all got patriotic, got to see all the fireworks going off and, had a great time with family and had a good, barbecue or whatever it was you were doing.
Yeah, exactly. And before we get started with the whole entire shtick up and the film breakdowns, please make sure that you smash the like button and hit subscribe. It's completely free and helps support the channel. And also, please, and I mean please post in your questions and comments throughout the show. Like during the breakdown, if you have a question, you can always put it in the comments down below. You can also, in a way that you can distinguish between the question and comments, you can put the letter Q and then your question and then or the letter C and then your comments. But that's all said and done. And let's make sure that we hit the subscribe button so we can hit 100 subs, because we're right now at 63 subs. So we need 37 more. So please click the subscribe button. Please click the like button if you have time. If you can't make it here live, please make sure at some point during your time when you watch the video, press the like button and then hit subscribe. But let's get started with Marcus Bryant. So basically, he was the second offensive line that the Patriots selected next to Will Campbell. But Austin, if you don't mind, can you give the audience a breakdown of who Marcus Bryant was and why why he's like Mike Vrabel's go-to guy?
Yeah, for sure. Just for clarification, he was actually the third person. The second would be Jared Wilson.
That's right.
The stats. But freak of nature, just in size. So he's a left tackle, originally played at SMU, and he made 29 starts before transferring to Mizzou in 2024, where he started all 13 games at left tackle. With him on the field, the offense ranked 5th in the SEC for red zone efficiency and time of possession. So pretty solid. He stands at 6'7". Some websites have him stacked at 6'8". So we're definitely talking a jolly green giant of a football player. 320 pounds, 34.5-inch arms, and a 83-inch wingspan. So, and he runs a pretty, think of how big he is, right? 4.97 40-yard dash. So an under 5 from a guy that big, quite impressive.
That's really impressive. And considering the fact that Marcus Bryant played for the Mizzo Tigers, the other offensive tackle that played alongside Marcus Bryant was the 7th overall pick selected by the Jets, Armand Membu. And there were so many sources that considered the Patriots drafting Armand Membu, but why do you think Mike Vrabel wanted to select Will Campbell over Armand Membu in a certain way, considering that he was considered to be one of the better offensive tackles, but considering that we needed a left tackle since we never had a good left tackle since I don't know how long.
Yeah, I think the simple thing is just the way he carries himself, his demeanor, his grit. I mean, the fact that Will Campbell on live TV, just the reporter's like, how do you feel about having to, block for Drake May? And he just answers with, I'm going to fight and die for this quarterback. That's clearly the type of attitude that Mike Vrabel has preached, that Mike Vrabel has wanted, and what he's kind of constructed for a roster is to just have these violent players that are ready to put in the work and, want to do whatever it takes to make the football team succeed. And I think Will Campbell fits that. The measurables, yeah, if you want to get into those after the fact, sure. But no doubt, football character-wise, this was the right decision.
Yeah, exactly. And considering that people want Armand people, and including there was a lot of fans within the Patriots fan base that wanted Armand Membu, considering that he was the best offensive tackle in this class, considering that he had a perfect combine, but sometimes the combine doesn't translate to everything. You really want like specific needs, not just like a tackle. You just get a tackle and then you could think that you can transform him from like a right tackle to a left tackle. We did that a couple times and it failed miserably. So we wanted like a purified, and I mean like a true a starting left tackle, considering that that's Drake May's blind side. And we want to make sure that Drake May is protected well. And that's why I think we doubled down on left tackle, considering that even though I didn't think we would consider drafting Marcus Bryant in the 7th round, I think that if he's developed properly, he could be like a starting left tackle for another team, or maybe he could be like a backup to Will Campbell instead of having like number 59, Vidarian Lowe, being the backup. And I know fans get sick and tired of hearing, let's have Vidarian Lowe as our starting left tackle, and then you know the rest of the story.
Yeah, I think you're completely right in the mindset of you can't go fully off of the measurables or what the stats kind of say. A lot of it is what this guy does off the field, how I alluded to how he carried himself, just how he treats other people. He just seems to be a hell of a football player. And if people went off the measurables all the time, I mean, there'd be football teams with nobody on them. Just take John Ross for an example. I mean, that dude I think broke the 40-yard dash time for wide receivers. Not even on a football team anymore. He played for the Bengals 3 years, went to the Giants, and see ya. Same thing with Tyquan Thornton. I mean, you draft a guy who crazy blazing speed, and you look on paper at the stats and you're going, oh yeah, this guy is going to be a slam dunk. And then he comes to the NFL and I mean, he can't do anything. So football is definitely way more than just what the stat sheet shows.
Yeah, exactly. Because the most important, crucial thing is what he can do on the field, less so much on the whole like statistics and all the height and weight and how he could like be projected to be one of the best players. And like, for example, Will Campbell, even though we're talking Marcus Bryant, considering that it's left tackle related, Will Campbell, people didn't like him because of his T-Rex size arms. But if you look at his tape with and without Jaden Daniels, who was his quarterback back in 2023, and then last season he had Garrett Nussmeier, who could potentially be a first rounder for one of these quarterback needy teams, but he had a great season under Jaden Daniels. And Drake May is somewhat that similar type of quarterback that Jaden Daniels is, which was why Will Campbell had better statistics when it comes to like sacks, quarterback hurries, and pressures. There's a lot. And then when he had Garrett Nussmeier as the quarterback, it wasn't the best, but it was definitely not the worst, let's just say. And with Marcus Bryant being the left tackle for Mizzo, we know that Brady Cook was the quarterback for the Mizzo Tigers, and we know that Armand Membu was the right tackle. But do you understand why people glaze so much with Armand Membu over Marcus Bryant for Mizzo?
I think it's probably a lot of the combine stuff. I mean, I think he ran a pretty fast 40, and he measured high in a lot of the like cone testing. I mean, he definitely did have a very good season for Mizzo. I don't know if it's way better than Bryant. I think Bryant somewhat gets overshadowed just because Membo was so good, but it doesn't discredit the fact that Bryant was just as good. I just think I think Membo, if I remember correctly, had 0 sacks. Yeah, 0 sacks and only 8 pressures in 2024 off of over 400 pass attempts. So in comparison, if Membo only allowed 8 pressures the whole season, I think Bryant allowed 11 in the game against Alabama. So, I mean, that just goes to show you, like, Membo at its current state is a way more NFL-ready player. So I think he's deserving of that number 1 pick, where you're looking at Marcus Bryant. And, yes, while he may have all the measurables, he's still very raw in his technique. And I think the Patriots just saw that. And I mean, it's a late-round pick, and they're just looking, okay, I think we can kind of mold this guy into what we think he can be.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Considering that people want to hype up over Armand Membu because of the combine, people need to realize that you got to look deeper into like the offense itself, because my guess is the offensive line as a whole, besides Armand Membu, Mizzo had like a consistent, two good consistent seasons. Like they were 11-2 back in 2023, and then last season they were 10-3, if I'm not mistaken. I think they were ranked 20th overall out of all of the colleges in the FBS. And if I can double check, they were the 7th. They were the 7th seed in the SEC conference. Considering the fact that you're drafted from a conference at that high level, you're bound to be a good player, but it's not going to be always that great, considering that we understand that SEC is like one of the best conferences for college football, considering it's like the dads of all college football, or the founding fathers.
The creme de la creme, the chef's kiss, like that's college football.
Yep. Like if you're drafted from LSU, you're drafted from Georgia, you're drafted from Alabama, you're drafted from Texas, I would say, you're bound to be a good player. And even though Marcus Bryant played for SMU before he transferred to Missouri, so ACC is like one of the next conferences next to Big Ten and SEC. But when it comes to Marcus Bryant, where would you see his strengths are and how he could be an asset to the Patriots offensive line?
Yeah, so like I said at the beginning, I think he's a rare combination of size and length. 6'7", almost 6'8", 83-inch wingspan, super long arms. I mean, pretty much everything that people are harping on Campbell for, you can't even say about this guy. He's nearly unmatchable against speed to power rushers. Like he just does a good job in the run game. I think he can kind of struggle in the pass game though. But he's definitely a physical drive blocker in a lot of these power and gap schemes. And he has pretty good durability. I know some of these linemen coming out of college, injury was a big concern. You just look at Josh Simmons, who ended up slipping all the way to, you guessed it, the Kansas City Chiefs. So they get a slam dunk pick there. But there was some serious injury concerns with Josh Simmons. You can't say the same with Marcus Bryant, completely healthy based off of everything that I was able to research. And he showed like a clear improvement year over year. More so when he was in Missouri, he definitely didn't start the year off as hot as he probably could have, but by the end of it, I mean, he was just chugging like a train. His biggest things, though, when you are someone that size, even with the 40-yard time that he had, the individual like foot quickness, moving back and forth and trying to get like agility in those lateral movements. So when they're hiking the ball and he's doing his, back step like this into the edge, he definitely struggles. The timing and accuracy I've seen too with his initial punch, like that, kind of slow. He needs to work on getting that like balls hiked and he's engaging with that player right away. And then he just needs to start. I don't know if it's a repetition thing or it's just not enough experience kind of starting, but when he's going against stunt heavy fronts, and by stunt, I mean, there's a guy lined up right against him, and then there's a guy lined up on the guard. And what they do is the ball's hiked and they basically cross and switch where they're going to go. He just seems to have lapses in judgment in those situations where, okay, he's so stuck on this guy, and then he gets totally blindsided by the stunts. So I would like to see an improvement on that. That's definitely a weakness. But yeah, those are kind of some of his strengths and some of his weaknesses that he could work on.
Yeah. And considering that you in that template that you sent me, you showed me that there were some of like the statistics on like Marcus Bryant, and I know for a fact that it was hard to like find some of the stats from Marcus Bryant, considering that he was not like a big name. I would say people like to focus on the names, but when you look at like the statistics, it's like okay for a left tackle. He only allowed 2 sacks. He did have 3 penalties, and obviously my only concern with the offensive line is that we were not disciplined when it comes to like penalties. Like whenever we make a good play, it always gets called back because they're not disciplined. Do you think that even though we had Scott Peters as our offensive line coach last year, do you think that Doug Marrone, who was the offensive line coach in the league, he was the head coach for the Jacksonville Jaguars, he was the coach for the Buffalo Bills, do you think that as an offensive line coach, he can shape Marcus Bryant to be more of like I wouldn't say like a all-pro yet, but maybe at least to like a Pro Bowler level?
I don't think I would shoot that high. I think what I'd kind of start at is just trying to get him on field ready and maybe fitting that swing tackle role. Kind of like how we have Caden Wallace is kind of that heir apparent to the right tackle as it stands. I mean, we could be going into next season drafting a right tackle to take over from Morgan Moses. But as it stands, Caden Wallace is kind of that right tackle. I'm currently looking at Marcus Bryant being that swing left tackle. I know you posed a question earlier. Do I think he could play guard? I definitely think it's a possibility. He did play some snaps in college at guard. He did shift around the line. So I do like that versatility, though I think he is a little big to be playing guard. I think somebody that big would suit better on the left or right tackle side. And now that I kind of think of it, I would almost comp him kind of like a Trent Brown just because of the size. And I could definitely see Trent Brown playing right or like Trent Brown played right tackle. I could see Marcus Bryant actually making that switch to right tackle. Because if I remember correctly, Marcus Bryant was slated to play right tackle in college. And then because of Membu, the coaching staff was so confident in his ability, they were like, all right, we're just going to have you play left tackle instead. So I really value that versatility. So I think, he could even edge Caden Wallace out and maybe be our starter after Morgan Moses retires.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I know that he was a left tackle for Mizzo, but was he like a right tackle for SMU, if I'm not mistaken?
I definitely could look that up while you're talking about the next segment, if you'd like, just so we don't waste any precious time. But I don't have any information on that as of right now.
Yeah, so now we get into the segment where we can look at some of the film, and I know, and we're going to talk about like the important like plays in some of like the games that were mentioned in the document. And by the way, guys, all of these clips that I picked out are all from ESPN's college football. So basically it's their rights, not mine. So you can also like search them up on YouTube if you want, but all of these will all be in the link in the description down below. But if you want to see the specific plays, I will basically at the end of the stream post the timestamp. So basically you can see the specific plays of some of his strengths and some of his weaknesses. So we'll get started on some of the plays once I make this adjustment for the plays. And we're going to be starting off with let's just start off his strengths, and then we can slowly get into some of his weaknesses. And we will start with that game against the Arkansas Razorbackers. So this was, if I could take a look at the schedule, this was week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Was it
week 13 of the season? So let's pull that out if I can, and we'll start with this play. And by the way, guys, in that game, Austin pointed out that game was like a snowy game. At least, and considering that New England is gonna be like a cold and snowy environment. Do you think that Marcus Bryant can thrive in like these cold conditions, like in the snow, in the rain, and in the wind?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a possibility. Seeing these types of performances out of him in these weather conditions does definitely give you a sense of, okay, this guy is definitely going to be capable of performing when we need him most. Because, I mean, snow and rain is probably what you see in New England 50% of the time. I mean, you could see all 4 seasons in one day in New England. That's just the type of weather we have. So just him getting the experience early here is just a complete bonus for me because I think there is definitely going to be games, especially like the Buffalo game not too far back where the wind was going crazy. I mean, you could even look back to when we beat the Raiders in the 2001 playoffs, where that was, the tuck rule game essentially, where that was just like a blizzard coming down. Like you need people that are going to be able to play in multiple conditions and still play at the level we expect them to.
Yeah, exactly. And in this clip, let's just play this clip. And by the way, all of these clips, just a reminder again that all of these clips, you can find them on YouTube. It's not easy finding college football because I don't think that there's like any like websites that you can look up some of like the college tape, but this is the best we can do. And to start off, let's just take a look at this play and then we can analyze this. This was the run game. This was like somewhat the run game, and this was 4th and 1 where they were like, where they have to try to convert into like a first down, I think. So let's take a look at this play. You see I can't tell if it's a number 6 or number 0.
Number 0.
Yeah, it was number 0. So you can see that I think that Marcus Bryant in this one, I can't tell if he played in this one. I think he was the left tackle in this game. I think the guy to the left, number 71, I think
he's an extra like tight end, it looks like. So I think because you see the center, left guard, left tackle, right tackle, and then an extra left tackle. So yeah, he's playing left tackle, but the other guy is a tight end technically, but a tackle.
So like some of like those swing tackles and some of like the previous offense, I know the Patriots use swing tackles in some of like their plays. Like I know one against the Colts back in 2014 where they used Cameron Fleming as this swing tackle, but let's not get off track. Let's take a look at that play. Let's see if I can play
Slow
that right
down.
now.
Yeah.
So it's not like the best play, I would say, but this is what you would generally see for an offense. Let's just slow it down a bit. So like I'd say like 0.5, and let's take a look at this play. It was not like the best play, but let's take a look. Let's just look at that play again and see like where. So like how Marcus Bryant thrives in the run game. I would say that was great play on the defense. I think Marcus Bryant, I think he did a decent job of like blocking, but there were certain aspects here and there where I think the defense made plays in the run game.
Yeah, I think he did well, but I think because of his high stature, he has a hard time kind of getting low, getting under the pads. So that's where you see where, when he and the defensive lineman kind of engage, he is holding them back, but the defensive lineman's kind of having his way, able to like shut off of that. Obviously, his player that he's blocking doesn't get the tackle, so that's a plus. But I would like to see Armand be able to get some bend in those legs and kind of get in those shoulder pads and drive that defender coming in on those run blocking plays.
Yeah, and then here's another. I think this one is another run. Yeah, this is another run play, and I think in this one he got some yards. That running back made a twitchy play, I would say. That was a great play on him. But let's take a look at. Let's just roll it back to see where we can find that play. Okay, so here, 1st and 10, 4 minutes and 30 seconds of the first quarter. We see playing like the run. some of these plays are not easy for me to describe, but this is basically like, I would say this is more of like a run play, I would say. And this one, I think that the running back, number 9, I think that would be
Yeah, so what's kind of happening here is number 3's motioning to the right, and they're having the right guard pull to the left through the gap. And so the blocking concept is the right tackle, and then I think the left tackle are supposed to, or the left guard and the right, left guard and left tackle, I'm sorry, are supposed to block like that, so the guard can come around this way and be the lead blocker for that. That's why you see in this clip, Marcus Bryant came down at an angle blocking that way and actually was able to block, basically pancake 2 people.
Yeah. If I could, let's see if I could. Okay, so this is another play that I could find. Hold on, let me see if this is right. This is in the next play, and this one I think in this play, the Tigers scored a touchdown. So let's just look at the play and then we'll break it down. I think it's another run game, but I could be totally wrong. Let's just take a look at this. Snap the ball, and then Cook hands it off to Carroll, I think that's his name is, and then they got the touchdown. Let's take a look and see how they managed to get the touchdown.
Looks like Marcus Bryant ends up chop blocking the defender he's going against, which I'm not sure how that would pass over in the NFL, because I kind of think chop blocking is a thing of the past. But
yeah, so we can see there's another like setup where like you have a swing tackle, then you have the left tackle, left guard, center, right guard, right tackle. Do you think that Josh McDaniels might bring back some of those kind of like schemes where you have a swing tackle in some of like these packages? Because I've seen some of that in McDaniels' offense.
Oh yeah, I mean, I definitely think if we bring back the fullback, right, it could be something where you have the quarterback and a fullback and probably the running back in the backfield. I mean, you could even take these 2 wide receivers that you have kind of to the left, and you could have a tight end on the right there, and then you could have a tight end on the left. So you could have literally 8 people on the offensive line there. And I think we could see some goal line packages like that, some heavy 12-man personnel type of thing, 12, 13-man personnels, where just like bunch of big bodies on there, which is why I think Marcus Bryant, like obviously he's the starting left tackle in this scenario, but for the Patriots, he'd be playing more of that number 75 role where he's all the way on the outside type of thing.
Yeah, let's just watch that play again, see the snap of the ball, and then they're shifting to the right. And we know for a fact that Marcus Bryant thrives in the run blocking over like the passing game. Why would you think that Marcus Bryant would like would do well in like the run game instead of like the passing game?
I feel like a lot of people or a lot of tackles in general, when you're a smaller type of build and nimbler, you're going to fare better in the passing game because you're going to have more of that lateral quickness. You're going to have better quick feet, be able to make quick movements, be very agile. Somebody like Marcus Bryant, where you are, almost 6'8", 83-inch wingspan, 36-inch arms, you're a beast of a dude. You're not going to be nowhere near as quick. So I think when you're able to just take the power and push it forward in a run blocking type of play or scheme, you're just going to have a much easier time than you are trying to finesse pass rushes against speed rushers. Like I think if we tell Marcus Bryant to go out there and be our left tackle blocking against a speed rusher, he's just probably going to get turnstiled all the time, because I just don't think he, at least with the current state of his technique, I just don't think he's going to be capable of stopping that. Okay,
we're going to pick one more play from that game. And I think this one, if I can find it, it's in the passing game. So let's directly shift over to that. And surprisingly, we don't want to focus on the ad, so we'll try to remove that. But let's pull out the one against Auburn if I get a chance. We'll just pull the one from Auburn and let's see. You said that in that document that some of his weaknesses were in that Auburn game, even though the Tigers won. against Auburn, there were moments where he like struggled against Auburn. So
yeah, so in week 8 versus Auburn, he had to go against a pass rusher by the name of Zion Young, who just completely exposed him on a lot of the arc rushing plays that they tried and a lot of the inside counter run plays that they tried. Like, he was just getting by him nearly every time on the run plays. That's where I said, like, it's tricky. It's like Marcus Bryant, I want to say he's a better run blocker, but again, a lot of his techniques are super raw. Where like, I think he's just always played to his size and never thought he's really needed to do much more. Where I think with Doug Marrone and Mike Vrabel and some of the other people, they're going to be able to mold him into something better. But I mean, that's what some of these, day 3 picks are. It's not going to be a slam dunk player. These are the types of players that, could be one and done on your team. They could be developmental pieces that take 2-3 years to really even, come to fruition, turn into something. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So this is another run game, and I don't think Brady Cook was in that game, if I'm not mistaken. But I think that let's just take a look at the play. And this is another run game where I think Marcus Bryant thrives in the run game. So let's take a look at that. So we see number 6 hands the ball to number 8, I think, and that's where they ran the ball. So let's take a look at that. I don't want that play. So like they're shifting to the left, leaving a gaping hole for the running back right here. Let's take a look at that play again. And we can set this to like at this speed. So what do you see from this play, Austin, that makes Patriots fans believe that he could be a good backup left tackle for Will Campbell?
Yeah, so it looks like he had good engage there. I would just like to see him kind of stick to the guy a bit better and, kind of have him engage for a bit longer, just because if you look from there, it looks like the defensive end essentially engaged with him, saw that the run was coming, and immediately was able to just kind of like throw him off a bit and then just took off running after the running back. We don't really want to see that. We want to see him stay engaged. Obviously, you can't hold. So if the guy's trying to turn around and run away, yeah, you got to let him go. But definitely just try to be in his face more on those run plays. I mean, the dude's a huge dude. I mean, he should be pancaking these guys. He's really got to take his strength and his size and kind of use that leverage and just go in on them.
Yeah. Well, let's head over to the next play against Auburn, and this is where you will generally not find any like plays where it shows Marcus Bryant's weakness, and because it's really hard. But this is another run game, and I can tell you that Marcus Bryant might thrive into the run game, maybe as a swing tackle. So like it would give Stevenson and Travion Henderson, who I will do a breakdown with Thomas sooner than later, at least before training camp. But we're gonna take a look at another run blocking play. This was during the second quarter, and let's take a look and see how Marcus Bryant's technique thrived and gave this running back some room to live, I would say. Actually, I lied. I lied. This is actually a passing game. So we get to see a passing game. So you see Marcus Bryant shifting to his left.
But you can see right there where the dude's a giant, but he was getting pushed back because he just doesn't know how to drop his knees and get low and, block up. He was getting pushed back like it was nothing. That's where I feel like he's going to struggle. Like he even needed a double team on this. They're only sending 3. Well, they sent 5, but see what I mean? He's getting pushed back pretty far by that one guy.
Yeah, this is something that Marcus Bryant will definitely work on, which is why I think he was projected to the 7th round. But generally, some of these, these are some keynotes that Doug Marrone might want to lecture Marcus Bryant, considering that this is just raw talent. So basically, I think we're gonna see some of that in those preseason games. Let's see how some of it show like on tape, show on tape, I think. But let's take a look at another play, and then we'll take a look at his big weakness. I would say we have the fans. Okay, so this is another play, and I think that this. Let's just take a look at the play, and then we'll analyze it from there. So we see the run game. You see Marcus Bryant getting pushed over, which was why it allowed a fumble. It forced a fumble and Auburn catch the ball. So where do you think it went wrong for the Mizzo Tigers?
What I see here is kind of like one. It's a mishandled handoff. So the quarterback definitely was supposed to. Either the quarterback didn't let go of the ball, or the running back didn't have a good grasp on it. So that's what happened and caused the fumble. It wasn't a defender hitting them, though those defenders did get in the backfield pretty fast. What I immediately see there, if you rewind it a little bit, it almost looks like they know. So it looks like like a run to the left there, almost like a HB stretch off the left tackle. And it looks like they're blocking left. But if you look, it also seems like Marcus Bryant's only supposed to kind of help block real quick and then pull off and be one of the lead blockers with those other two players heading downfield. But what kind of happens there is Marcus Bryant does what he's supposed to do and then breaks off. And he either didn't necessarily give his guard enough help, or the guard just didn't have enough leverage, wasn't enough on the outside, because what happens is he blocks, lets go, and runs, and that guy just goes right through.
Interesting. And by the way, guys, before we move on to the Alabama, I'm just gonna say hi to you guys for a brief moment. And if you guys are coming in, please make sure that you post in your questions and comments throughout the show. And please make sure, if you can, please make sure that you click the subscribe button and click the like button if possible. If you really enjoyed the show, please ask in your questions. If you don't understand some of these plays, you can ask them in the chat. But yeah, I just think that there are some weaknesses here and there that show why Marcus Bryant was not projected to be a day one, a day two, and why he's could potentially be a final day three or maybe a UDFA, even though this is a number five ranked offense in college football. So these are things that he needs to work on, and I know that he's not going to be your starting left tackle, but generally you really want to see improvement as a backup left tackle, so that teams that are like offensive needy type of thing, he would be a huge asset for those teams that need a left tackle. So yeah, let's head over to by far one of Marcus Bryant's worst games during his time in not during his time as a Mizzo Tiger. So let's take a look at his footage against Alabama, and I'm telling you, let's just say that in that game, this was one of Mizzo's worst games, considering that Alabama has been one of the best schools, even after the retirement of Nick Saban. But still, you're going up against one of the best schools in the league, and you can see here, Marcus Bryant. It's hard to see, but I think that I think Marcus Bryant played at left tackle, and then I think that the other guy, number 75, I think he was I would say he played as a swing tackle. And in this one, it just looked bad from the get-go. You see that you're going up against Alabama's defense, and I think Jahad Campbell is somewhere in the mix, was playing in that defense, which was why he was drafted by the Eagles. But let's take a look at this play and see where everything went wrong for the Mizzo Tigers.
Yeah, so right there is kind of what I was getting at, where Marcus Bryant seems to struggle in the passing game against the speed rusher. In this clip right here, he kind of starts going back, and the guy just does a quick swipe down of the arms and just gets right around him, and basically heading for the sack if his teammate didn't already beat him to it.
Yeah, it's a shame. Like, but then again, Alabama has one of the best defenses for so long. It's like you can't even stop Alabama. But there are instances where Mizzo had like great performances in games where they do well, but against like these big schools, like if you look at their schedule last season, they went up against Alabama, for example. They didn't have like I wouldn't say they didn't have like the best performance. It was like one of their worst performances throughout the entire season, next to their first loss against Texas A&M. Let's see where everything went wrong for the Mizzo Tigers, I would say. Let's take a look at this play right here. Once again,
while we're waiting for that ad, though, Thomas Noble asked a question.
Oh, Thomas Noble has a question. Was that Brady Cook, the Mizzo quarterback, back when Bryant plays for them? Yes, the quarterback number 12 is Brady Cook. So we know he was an undrafted free agent picked up by the Jets, and basically he could be Brady Cook could potentially be a franchise quarterback for the Jets if Justin Fields doesn't work out. But do you think that Brady Cook might beat out Tyrod Taylor and Justin Fields, or do you think that Brady Cook still needs some development in a certain way?
I think he might need some development, but I think he could potentially beat out Tyrod Taylor. I mean, I think Tyrod Taylor is kind of a thing of the past, really. He's just one of those journeyman type of quarterbacks at this point in his career. I don't really see Tyrod Taylor ever scaring anybody for a starting job. So I think Brady Cook, I mean, I actually really liked him last year out of Missouri. Obviously, we already had Drake May, so I'm not even looking at it like that. But I do think the skill set that Brady Cook provided, plus what he was doing at the combine, kind of raising his draft stock. Granted, he didn't get drafted. So that's what happens. Unfortunately, there's thousands of college football players and there's only 2,800 NFL players. Like, it's just bound that some people aren't going to get on rosters. But I think if Justin Fields doesn't work out, Brady Cook's like a solid backup option, though I don't know how the Jets are going to finish this year. And depending on how bad they finish, I could see, them maybe taking like an Arch Manning or one of those other top quarterbacks of the 26th draft.
Okay. So now that the ad's gone, thank goodness, I don't want to see Liberty Mutual. So let's take a look at this play. I think this is a passing play. You see that I think that's the tight end to the right. I can't tell if it's like the
that's their right tackle.
Yeah, that's a right tackle because I swear it's just there's so much white. But we see Marcus Bryant playing at left tackle once more. I think this is like a passing play. And let's see where this went wrong.
Yeah, so that right there again is the Alabama defensive front relies heavily on stunt like rushes. So if you look, he's eyeing number 11 there on the end. And what 11 ends up doing is he just stunts over to the left and goes almost inside the guard. And then the guy that was lined up on the guard goes outside. And before you know it, like, he's so big. Like I said, he doesn't have that lateral quickness. He can't just, commit to this guy and then be like, oh, wait. And he just gets blown by on that play.
Interesting. This is something that, especially that Alabama had one of the best defenses, like I said before. It's not going to be easy when you go up against some big players. And I would say in the league, like you're going up against TJ Watt, you're going up against Myles Garrett. Hopefully, and I don't know if Trey Hendrickson might be in the league still. No, it might be in with the Bengals still. You might go up against the likes of Joey Bosa. You might go up against the likes of Max Crosby, I would say. But that would be for Will Campbell as a starting left tackle. But generally, for Marcus Bryant, you can see some of the weaknesses. I think that's Campbell, number 11. So
yeah, he literally like kind of eyes number 11 and cheats over. And because of that, the other guy's able to just blow right by. Jonathan Watson did ask a good question, though.
Yeah, I think that's going to be it for all of the that's going to be it for all of the plays for like his strengths and weaknesses. And let's get to some of your questions. And John brings up by saying, Bryant got good size and he's a right tackle or a left tackle. So during his time with Mizzo, he was a left tackle. He was the left tackle for the Mizzo Tigers. But for the SMU Mustangs, I don't know. Let me see if he was like a right tackle.
I tried looking up some of that stuff, but everything kind of points towards left tackle. However, I personally feel that he's more of a right tackle, especially if we're kind of putting all of our eggs in one basket that Will Campbell's going to pan out the way he is. I don't see anybody replacing Will Campbell anytime soon. Therefore, the only way he could really have that starting role is if they push him to guard, which, again, I don't see happening because of his size, or if he ends up taking over the right tackle role after Morgan Moses retires. But even then, is that something that we're looking at replacing come the NFL draft next year in a starting right tackle of the future? Or is Caden Wallace kind of already propelled into that, he's going to be starting right tackle? So it'd be interesting how everything pans out. I personally like him at right tackle more. I think he'll play a mixture of both swing tackle wise this upcoming season.
Yeah, I really want it, even though like last season with the right tackle situation, it got really ugly with DeMontre Jacobs. And now that we got more of an upgrade with Morgan Moses, however, he is up in age, like at the age of 34, and he has dealt with a bunch of injuries. Yet again, we need some like leadership that not just like a playing style, but also like a type of leadership that you need in the locker room, considering you did lose David Andrews. So that's not good. So that's going to be a little more difficult. So Jonathan asked them, basically, Bryant and Wallace compete for right tackle backup after Moses, unless he retires early. That is a good question. Like, well, as far as I know, that there's so many right. If I'm not mistaken, we did a 53-man roster last Monday, and it's projected that if we look at the depth for the Patriots roster, let's quickly you can see that. There's Morgan Moses, there's Caden Wallace, and then you have Marcus Bryant. And maybe Jack Connolly, unless he can like convert into right tackle, but I don't see that anytime soon. But if you take a look at like right tackle when it comes to depth, might consider Marcus Bryant and Caden Wallace to compete as in the backup role. I know that Caden Wallace, during his time at Penn State, he was the right tackle for Drew Allar for back in Penn State, and basically he wasn't like the vocal point because Olu Fashanu was the vocal point of that offense for Penn State, as far as we know, and we know where he was drafted to. It was to the Jets, and then Caden Wallace, we drafted him in the 3rd overall, assuming that he could convert from a right tackle to a left tackle, and we all know what happened from there. But let's see. John brings up another good point. He said that we have a lot of OTs that end up retiring early for some reason, kind of becoming a trend. Do you think that's kind of a trend? Because I know that there's some some tackles that play at the age of 30. Like, you're not like Trent Williams, I would say, who's like 34 or 35 years old right now.
Yeah, I don't know if it's so much a trend with the Patriots. I know, like, as of late, it feels that way because we just had, Wes Schweitzer retire. We had Okorafor kind of retire on us and then unretire to go play with the Jets, which have fun with that. Just recently, you know what I mean? Like, we've had a lot of people retire. I don't think – I mean, Morgan Moses may, but is it really retiring early if he's 34 right now? I mean – I'd say that's a hell of a career. I mean, I think because Brady played for so long, a lot of people get this misconception that people are supposed to play into their 40s, but that's not really the case. So I think if Marcus Bryant ends up being a career swing tackle, that's a plus. I mean, there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, this 7th-round pick is now our career swing tackle, and he helped us on rundowns to win championships. Like, okay, like we've had people like that in the past. You know what I mean? Like, not everyone can have the glory of being the starting left tackle, the starting right tackle, the starting left guard. Some people are just plugged and played on certain packages and, make their money that way, and that's totally fine. So that's why I feel if a 7th-round pick makes it for us and ends up making that big of an impact, I'd say that's a win.
Yeah. John brings up another question. He said that also didn't Mizzo have another guy at offensive tackle that was drafted high? Yes, and that was Armand Membu, who was drafted 7th overall. We were like one of the teams that were supposedly going to draft Armand Membu based off some of the sources, but generally because of the experience of like the history of trying to convert right tackles to left tackles, it failed miserably, which is why Armand Membu wasn't like my cup of tea, I would say, considering that left tackle is still a gaping hole. And after looking at watching Vidarian Lowe's footage, I felt like we needed a left tackle, and that's why I was not like a huge fan of Armand Membu. And I think that being drafted by the Jets, it's definitely a huge plus for the Jets, considering that we took their guy, Morgan Moses, who was the starting right tackle for the Jets.
A question I have for you, Dow, is, do you think the Patriots can kind of afford to take some of these long-term approaches they're having with the offensive line where, you have other teams like the Jets where they're consistently drafting high at tackle, granted because they finished so low, and they're getting these immediate impact starters on their team where, the Patriots as of late, they've just been drafting these guys with depth or for depth where, they're really going to have to train them and teach them and get them up to speed. Do you think we can afford to take long-term approaches like that? Or do you think we need to kind of follow in the Jets or some of these other teams' footsteps and start drafting these players in higher positions so they can make immediate impacts?
Yeah, so we're not like the Detroit Lions or the Buffalo Bills or maybe like the Eagles, I would say. But considering that there's so many question marks with the offensive line, considering that we were dead last in all categories, and considering that we had to draft a center because of Dave Andrews' retirement, and there's so much unknown with Garrett Bradbury, considering that he was released by Minnesota. Left guard, it's going to be a question mark moving forward because Cole Strange is back after a injury, I would say, that he suffered against the Chiefs, and we all know about Cole Strange's durability. There's going to be a huge question mark at left guard. Right guard, we already know who is going to be our right guard, and it was Michael Onwenu, so we paid him. So basically, we might need to draft one more offensive line, considering that I wouldn't say like in the first round, but I would say around like day 2 of day 3 next year that we could possibly get a left guard and maybe get some depth at right tackle so that the offensive line gets consistent, because generally in years past we haven't had like a consistent offensive line because there's so many injuries, so many bad play, I would say, in general. So I think we might need to draft another offensive line, considering that years after years we've been scrambling with like so many offensive line combos, and I'm sick and tired of it. Yeah, and then Jonathan brings up a really good. He said that, Wes Schweisinger, Chooks basically signed with us only to just retire, and then there's Nick Lever. He didn't basically retire, but he still got released after we signed him. Man, there were so many injuries. It's just that there was so much unknown, and I don't want to be stuck. Do you think that we should have like a more consistent offensive line moving forward? Because I'm sick and tired of like so many like offense combos, sick and tired of like drafting so many offensive tackles, trying to make it stick and then see how it works, because I'm sick and tired of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I just want a consistent plan moving into each and every season, right? Like, I'm okay taking a long-term approach at O-lineman if it's a calculated approach. I don't want us to just keep, closing our eyes, taking the dart, throwing it, and then hoping we land on the big money prize of a starting left tackle, left guard, whatever it may be. So I do think there is some urgency in the building of, next year, maybe we are looking at, drafting high and getting a starting left guard, because out of all the O-line positions, I mean, I think Morgan Moses is going to be able to hold up at least 2 more years. Will Campbell's our future right there, barring injury on who's our right guard. And if Jared Wilson pans out, I mean, that's our center. So I'm really only looking at this roster right now, at least, kind of going, okay, where's our left guard kind of at? So that could be something where maybe we attack there. And then, I'd like to see them kind of give some precedence on the O-line. They preach that they want the trenches. So next year go for the trenches again. I mean, until we're at a point where we can honestly look at this team and be like, defensive line check, offensive line check. I mean, it all starts there. So until we can look at that like that, I don't think we should really be focusing on, picking these crazy players at these other positions. At least first round pick, I think it's a wild card. You pick whatever you need. Second pick on, start looking at more of your needs versus the talent level.
Yeah, like for next year, I think we're gonna generally do like a live stream where we're gonna do our early draft mock draft, I would say. You might consider left tackle, maybe another edge rusher, considering that we might need to have that edge rusher, and then possibly a tight end, considering that we didn't draft a tight end towards like the back half of the draft. So I was really disappointed with that, and consider that we might need a tight end because, like I said, Hunter Henry's up in age. Austin Hooper is on his 1-year deal. There's so much unknown with Jaheim Bell, and I know you're a huge fan of Jaheim Bell, but can he be that type of playmaker for the New England Patriots? There's so much unknown with the New England Patriots, and I like the fact that we're bringing a Mike Vrabel back as a head coach this time. We're bringing back Josh McDaniels, hopefully to boost up. We improved so much. We invest so much for the team, player-wise, coaching-wise. Heck, we all want to see the Patriots going back to the glory days, not like to the days of like when we had the best dynasty, but like getting up there to like at least better than what we did get up to like the 2021 season, I would say.
Yeah, get us squeaking in as a wild card or something. Anything than a 4-win season the past 2 seasons.
Anything better than that, because we have an easier schedule. It's not like those past 2 seasons where it's difficult. But that's going to be it for today. Actually, we got one more question and then we can call it off for a day. Even though it's still early, are there any tight ends in 2026 that you have your eye on? I haven't done my research on the tight ends, but this is something we might consider as time goes on. But let's save that question for an upcoming live stream, John, and then we can answer it to back, because I don't know if there's like any tight ends that could possibly like.
I mean, like early rankings right here, just based off of a quick search, going off of NFL Draft Buzz. It has Max Clare out of Ohio State, 6'4", 240 pounds. Joy Royer out of Cincinnati, 6'5". Eli Stowers out of, I don't even know what that is. Is that Vanderbilt?
I think that's Vanderbilt. We have Kenyon Sadiq out of Oregon, Tanner Kozio out of University of Houston, Jack Andres out of Texas, Oscar Delp out of Georgia. There's just so many offensive. There are so many, like, I wouldn't say decent tight ends, but this is not like your best. It's not like your best tight end class. But Claire would be a good option. Like Hunter Henry's he has one more year on his deal, and considering that Austin Hooper is only on a 1-year deal, I think that we could draft Claire somewhere like in the first round or second round. So that's my tight end to look at. But that's going to be it for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining us on today's edition of the Film Breakdowns. Like I said before, after the stream, I will be posting this timestamp so you can take a look like this specific place and like show his strengths and his weaknesses. But as always, as you leave, please make sure that you smash the like button and hit subscribe. It's completely free. It helps support the channel. Please make sure that we get up to 100 subs. We're currently at 63 subs right now, and we need to bump that to a lot more. And it would be really helpful, guys, if you continue to support by clicking the subscribe button and the like button. Just helps support the channel. And as always, go Pats!
Go Pats!